Okay, thank you very much. Welcome to this press briefing. We wanted to, a few of the large creditors and institutions that have major holdings of government securities felt that it's important that we communicate to the market our view of the National Debt Exchange and just the way we analyzed and looked at the decision before us. What we're going to do is Richard Biles from Sagicor, Keith Duncan from Jamaica Money Market Brokers, and I have some prepared statements. I'm going to ask Eric Hosen from Guardian to as well give a perspective from his side, and Maureen Hayden-Carter from First Global is also here and confirming First Global's participation in the debt exchange. So let me start off with some comments from Scotiabank's perspective, and to confirm that the board of directors of the bank, our insurance company, and our brokerage company have all decided that we will participate 100% in the debt exchange. And there's both for us, a very good, logical financial reason for doing so, but also there's the good of the country. Jamaica's sovereign credit rating has been low for quite a while, and it's a function of the high debt to GDP, the historical low growth rates, and as a result, S&P, Moody's, all those entities that do sovereign ratings have given a very low rating. And those ratings are an indication of the likelihood or the risk of default. With the IMF agreement not in place, obviously the market has been nervous, both the domestic and the international market, and it's led to further deterioration in that credit risk, and we've seen that from the actions that the rating agencies have taken over the last 6 to 9 months. And today, Jamaica is not able, because of that, to access the international capital markets. Add to that the fact that on the 22nd of February, this Friday, there's a significant amount of financing that falls due in the domestic market. 62 billion Jamaican dollars plus 287 million US dollars of financing falls due. Our view, Scotiabank, is that in the absence of an IMF agreement, the price that will have to be paid to refinance or roll that will be higher than need be or higher than would be desirable, and the tenors would be short. On the other hand, our decision to participate comes from the fact we believe that this debt exchange is part of the broader IMF agreement. All the prior actions that are part of that form the basis for an improvement in the credit risk rating. And as a result, in very simplistic terms, our view is that we would rather accept lower rates of interest on those bonds today than to see a higher risk of there being a worse consequence down the road. So we feel that that's a sound financial decision for us. Aside from the financial decision, we think that the NDX is in the best interests of Jamaica. It is necessary the country gets its debt to GDP down. Without that, too much of the revenues of the government are going to servicing debt and paying payroll of the government, and not enough money is flowing through to the health care, to the security, to the education that the government needs to be providing. With this debt exchange as well and its successful implementation of the whole IMF program, we believe, Scotiabank, that the investors, the banks, the insurance companies are going to be actively looking for non-government risk places to put their capital, and that will provide increased opportunities for the private sector to get attractive financing for their projects. Now, we acknowledge, and part of the reason that we wanted to come together and have this press briefing is we acknowledge there's a lot of people that see weaknesses with the overall IMF agreement in this transaction. Not all the stakeholders have committed. The other prior action is for the trade unions to be on board, and we acknowledge that isn't yet in place. There's always concerns about political will and the willingness to implement, and there's no way we can completely eliminate that risk. There's also the lack of a detailed growth plan, and a lot of the things we hear from people is, where is that plan? All of those are true. However, in a very difficult situation as creditors, with a very short period of time before a big refinancing on Friday, we believe that the NDX represents the best of many poor options that are available. Now, going forward, for this to succeed, given all those weaknesses, we believe that it's important now that all sectors of society, the financial institutions, all the creditors, private sector, all of society, need to come together. And we need to play our part, but we also need to hold the government and ourselves accountable for doing our part in making this work. Jamaica as a country cannot go through this again, and it's important that we not defer the responsibility to the government, but take it upon all of us to make sure that that happens. With that, I'd like to ask Keith Duncan from Jamaica Money Market Brokers to make a few comments.
Okay. Can I shift this over?
Yeah.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity to share. For decades, we have been spending more than we earn as a country in Jamaica, both on the domestic side and both on the external side. So we have been kicking the can down the road, not taking the hard decisions that we should be taking. There are structural reforms that we should have been put in place over the years that we have not put in place because it took too much political will, and our leaders may have not been willing to expend their political capital. We are where we are because of all of these factors. And we are back with our bankers, the International Monetary Fund, and they're saying to us, take the hard decisions. We have failed in our commitment with the International Monetary Fund from our 2010 transaction, and we're back with them again, and they're saying, take the hard decisions. However, we have to ensure that there's a level of transparency and accountability which was missing the last time around. And therefore, the Minister of Finance himself put to us and recommended that we put a watchdog committee in place. We call this committee the Economic Program Oversight Committee. This committee will have the responsibility of overseeing the macroeconomic framework plan by monitoring the progress on a quarterly basis. This is very important because we need to inform the public as to where we are with this, good or bad, and we need to ensure that the government is making good on their commitments. This is the reason for the Economic Policy Oversight Committee. This is the real differentiator between the last deal and this deal. So therefore, we have to ensure as Jamaicans that this Oversight Committee works. Basically, we also have to ensure that we have growth in our economy. Because if we don't have growth, then we can't grow incomes and people can't earn and we can't build wealth in this economy. So therefore, we have to monitor even the growth prospects in our economy. The ministers and everybody has, and their individual ministers and the government have spoken about growth projects. We have to ensure that they have milestones, they have targets around this so that we can monitor, ensure that these growth projects are put in place so we can grow income, grow the wealth of this country, which we know we have a lot of potential. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. And Richard Bowles from Sagipol.
Not a lot to add after those remarks, except to say that with every challenge comes an opportunity, and I'm very excited by the opportunity that this challenge presents us. I think that this is a time for people to not sit at the sidelines, but to get involved. The Oversight Committee is one level, but the entire business community, and indeed all of Jamaica, needs to see themselves as part of the solution. I think that gives us a chance to really deal with some of the tough issues that face us and which we have in the past just neglected. This business of growth is vitally important for us, and I want to say that we have some bureaucracies in the government that need to be cleared out. They are debilitating. They restrain growth. Lots of these government bureaucracies don't facilitate the development of business and the functioning of business, but actually constrain it. And we need to deal decisively, take this opportunity to deal decisively with that kind of bureaucratic holdup. Growth in the economy is not going to come just from, in fact, not even primarily from big government projects. It's going to come from every businessman doing a little bit more, investing and expanding. That's where we're going to be able to get more than a 1.5% growth that seemed to have eluded us every year for the last 20 years. That's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. I don't know, Eric, if you have some comments from Guardian?
Good afternoon. Just wish to add to what these gentlemen have said, that really it is all Jamaicans who must become a part of this oversight committee. We can't leave it to a few persons. We must support them. We must ensure that if they say that things are going well, that we also say, well, keep going. And when they say that things are not going well, we must come out very forcibly to show that we are not in support of what has happened in the past. We cannot go back to doing the things that we have done. We can't say we're going to do something and then don't do it and everybody sit back and relax and say that it will go that way. As I shared even before this press conference, I was saying that the next time, there cannot be a next time, because it's not going to be, it won't be a haircut. Really, it will be a disaster for this country. And we all as Jamaicans need to stand up now and support the Oversight Committee. We all need to do what we can do to the best of our ability to help this country to grow. It is Jamaica. This is the land that we love, so we have to support it.
Thank you. And we've heard a lot of the same things, and we thought it important that we as the major creditors of the government, amongst the largest holders of government securities, let people know our views both on the debt exchange and the overall situation the country finds itself in. I want to reiterate a point that Richard made. I think that while a lot of people see this situation and out of legitimate and well-deserved frustration or disappointment over the last debt exchange and see all the problems that we know are there with it, but this is time for us to get beyond the petty politics, and it's time to get beyond the blatant self-interests and recognize that this is a time that Jamaica, all segments of society, need to come together. We encourage the holders of government securities, as you look at the decision in front of you, we encourage you to consider the financial risks of a failed transaction and the benefits of a successful transaction in improving the future prospects for Jamaica and reducing the sovereign risk on government bonds. I thank you very much and open to any questions you may have.
In a nutshell, what sort of financial risk are we looking at if this program is not successful?
Well, the worst case, and as I indicated, all of the credit rating agencies rate all countries on the basis of what they see the probability of default. Jamaica, for many years, has had a low rating. Over the last year, it has deteriorated. Even if we as creditors and investors feel it not most likely that there be a default, there's a point where the risk of it is not a risk worth taking. And certainly we at Scotiabank feel that without this transaction, the level of risk is too high for us to put our capital at risk. And As a result, we have accepted the exchange offer because we think it gives us an acceptable level of risk going forward.
That's on. When you look at the net international reserves and the fact that reserves have been falling month to month, right? And without this IMF transaction, and without the confidence that it will bring, and without the multilateral flows that it will bring, and confidence does bring investment. So we will look to, in terms of growing the economy, we'll look to foreign direct investments to grow the economy. On the other side, what you'll have is deteriorating net international reserves, and as Bruce says, will lead to your credit worthiness falling even more, right? Which at the end of the day, what all it does is really cause financial disasters, as we spoke to earlier.
Just one more question from me. Another big hold of government, the NCB is not here. I gather they vote today on this. They're voting meeting. But among the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of you, what level of exposure does it put your combined institutions towards, in terms of your stress test as well? How would it affect your profitability going forward?
Well, certainly, we're all public companies, and as a result, we need to make sure, each of us, that we have each looked at our own situation, and as public companies make the communication that we need to. The fact is, the industry as a whole, as the industry holds well beyond 90% of the government securities, and the government will be saving $17 billion in interest. So that means spread across the industry. They're amongst the top 5 or 6 institutions in holders. There's well over 50% of the debt held. The exact breakdown amongst the people here, I'm not sure, but it's very concentrated amongst the largest players.
I'm not talking about on the debt exchange, but how it affect overall profitability and the rate that the numbers go forward. Not just the debt alone, but it has other impact on the margin.
Oh, the overall IMF program,
No,
or the debt exchange.
What is the overall impact on not just from the loss of interest income, but
That's it.
Yeah, it's the loss of
Just
income,
interest income.
loss of interest income going forward, and then the rest will depend upon the confidence that's in the economy. We all have fixed rate securities, and this extends the tenor of them, which means the financial sector is more susceptible to changes in interest rates and impact on our capital. So that's why it is critical to us that the confidence comes back, that the economy moves forward, and interest rates stay low, because that is going to have an impact on capital of the financial sector.
Just one question. In terms of, you mentioned the implications from the NDX for insurance companies and others alike. Have you, I know that Mr. Addison said that some of the companies may fall below their regulatory capital requirement. Have you put in any mitigating measures? And have you been looking at what you can do in that regard?
I don't know of any that will fall below, but I believe there is a fund that has been established for not just insurance companies, but for all financial institutions, that institutions can access if they do need a capital. But I don't know of any that will.
I don't know of any, and we certainly have run our numbers. I guess there are still persons running their numbers, but there are no indications, none at all, that any will have any problems. No indications at this time. We have no indication of anything like that happening, where anyone will fall below the required capital. we have run our numbers. I'm sure Richard has done his, and we don't know of any.
And I think it speaks to the work that has been done behind the scenes by the technocrats at the Ministry of Finance, Financial Services Institute Commission, and the BOJ in looking at models, because they know all of our assets and liabilities, and I think they've run models and been pretty careful in how they have
Structure the deal.
structured the transaction. And can I put in a word for some of these technocrats? Really have done sterling work. I every time I have the opportunity, I have to refer to them. A lot of the delay in bringing this IMF agreement to fruition has been because they have struggled to get us the best deal they can in a circumstance that has been very adverse. They put in a lot of hours, all of them. And I think someday it will be known exactly how much work has been done by them. But certainly my close association with them in the last couple of weeks, I'm impressed with the work they've done.
Negotiating skills.
I can just ask one last question. Not from you, I know your numbers already, but from the other four, Grace, exposure, whatever exposure, how do you have to this statistic?
I mean, how much debt?
Yeah, you're committing to, it's 100%, but what is that in nominal?
I don't want you to quote me, because remember we have assets that belong to us as shareholders. We have assets that belong to pension funds. We have assets that belong to policyholders. So I can't tell you what is the amount that impacts shareholders versus the others. Well,
What is the total exposure to Sergio? How much debt is Sergio the exchange with this exercise?
a lot, Dashan.
I
All.
don't know what a lot is.
Mucho. Remember, you went to a good school in Dashan.
More than the paycheck, right?
Well, as public companies, our exposure is all on our public statements. We all show government securities, and some of it, to be honest, is not being cute. But like Richard, we have pension funds we manage that aren't on balance sheet. We have unit trusts and mutual funds, and so I know a lot of the numbers I'm dealing with. So.
$80 billion or whatever exposure or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, the thing
We
is
have
that
we have the second largest exposure in the marketplace. I know.
I know that as well.
So, I honestly don't have the exact number in front of me, but yeah, it's more than Richard.
Lots of exposure, Richard.
Unless I'm two of them.
Keith and I vie for third place.
Well, we're smaller. Both Grace Kennedy and the First Global Bank also is much smaller than these big guys when it comes to that. But again, we have also committed that we are going fully with all the holdings, both from First Global Bank, First Global Financial Services, Grace Kennedy, and similarly we have different types of portfolios. But we are, like, I can't give you the exact numbers now.
Hmm.
So it's
Again, we are a public company, so you.
So then 2 days out and you don't know how much you want to put in there.
We know.
It's not that we don't know.
You know what to tell us.
Yeah.
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 We'll see then.
Yeah. Remember, we're all public companies, and we and we have to make sure there's a formal mechanism for us to advise the market of things like that. So.
All right. If you don't want to break down individual, you can just tell me. I'm just trying to answer the 5 hours.
We have not done any collusion, right?
Yeah.
That's reasonable, right? Not for breaking
I-
out individually.
Yeah, I don't even know amongst the 5 of us what the total would be. Yeah.
And Richard then tell me that Eric and
Yeah, it wouldn't. I mean, yeah. I mean, the reality is that as public companies, if we're going to announce specific numbers, we have to go through the stock exchange. So I'm not here going to give you specific numbers, but
They'll call you tomorrow.
yeah.
I just said it all
So, yeah. Any other questions? All right. I want to thank you very much for coming again. We're all, as institutions, committed to doing the right thing for all of our stakeholders, our shareholders, and at a challenging time like this, specifically doing the right thing for Jamaica. So thanks very
I know
much.
you're committed. No, this is finished. I know you're all committed.